Hey guys, welcome to ITS Tactical. On today's Knot of the Week, I'm going to be showing you how to tie Hojo Cord, or what's also referred to as the Japanese martial art of Hojo Jutsu. And what this is essentially a system that the Japanese constables in feudal Japan would use to securely tie and transport a prisoner. So what this essentially was 30 feet of cordage, and you'd pay out the actual length needed to wrap up and restrain a prisoner. So we're going to be getting into how to tie the actual Hojo Cord wrap here, and then also maybe some methods on how to use this as well. So we'll be right back. Alright guys, so the Hojo Cord, or Hayanawa, essentially, like I mentioned in the intro, is a 30-foot length of cord that could be used to tie around prisoners by Japanese constables, and it can also be used, or it was also used by the samurai too. So it would either be tucked into a waistband through a shirt from a constable, and they'd be able to grab this loop like this and start paying out the line kind of in a quick release fashion. Or as a samurai, it would be carried on a sword on the cordage that affixes it to their obi or their sash. So affixes the sword, that is. So it's also very similar to our paracord deployment lanyard, which we've gone over in a Knot of the Week before, in terms of how it actually pays out the line, and check that out if you're interested in it too on our Knot of the Week series. So let's kind of get into tying this right away here. So what I've got here is a 30-foot length of cordage, and what I'm going to do first is actually form a bight of rope here. So we'll tie this part first, and then we'll get into how to wrap that. So you want kind of a 12 to 14 inch piece there, and what we're going to do is, if you're familiar with a fisherman's knot, that's essentially what we're going to tie twice in this. So we're going to wrap this around itself here, so you're going to go across the line with the working end, kind of making a figure 8 in the line, and then you're going to go back through it. It's maybe a little hard to see on camera, I apologize. Just like that, and just tighten it up. So once you have your first figure 8 there, or your first fisherman's knot, you're going to do that again. So we're going to come over the line, back across, making that figure 8 shape, around the back, and back through underneath, just like that. And now what I'm going to do is just basically take this, and I'm going to slide this around a little bit to clean it up and come up with a good size of the loop here. And these are kind of slip knots in themselves too, so you can kind of tighten this up and play around with the actual sizing too. What you want optimally is a place to get at least 2 to 3 fingers through, because what you're going to do is actually grab that line. So if this was actually going to be restraining someone, you would grab onto that line itself and pull through, creating that slip knot that would go over somebody's wrist like that. And also what I'm going to do at this point too is, now that I have that size down and I'm fairly happy with the size there, I'm going to actually trim this up too, because that cordage, that extra slack, will get caught as you're trying to loop that around. So we'll fuse this end here, and all I'm going to do is just make sure that that's closer to the knot, so that we're starting with that. So now that we have this, the method that I like to use to actually tie this, or to wrap it itself, is kind of do this with my fingers, kind of make a C shape, and I'll hang this like this. Maybe a little hard to see this, so I'll turn a little bit. And I'm just going to basically create figure 8s here. Drop this line. Create figure 8s here with my fingers, just like this. And what the figure 8s will help with is, when you're actually paying out this line, I know this looks like I'm tying it in knots, but it's actually going to help when it comes out of the line here. So you want quite a bit of slack. I'm going to leave quite a bit here, because when you actually tie this together, you're going to need quite a bit to actually wrap it. So I'm going to take that bundle there in my hand and bring this up. One more wrap there. Actually, I will take a little more slack here. So this is kind of the the important part of this too. While it may just look like it's wrapped, it's really kind of locked off. So after you take that first wrap around, you're going to cross over it. So you're going to cross over itself. And then as you continue to wrap here successively, that's going to lock that in. So as you can see, I still, even with all that slack, probably didn't give myself as much as I wanted there. I would have preferred this to wrap a little further down, kind of more along the lines of these other ones I've done. But for the sake of demonstration, I'll get the point across. So basically, once you get to the end here, you leave yourself a little loop, and you're just going to take that working end through there and just pull it together like that. So now what I'm going to do again, I'm going to come back here and trim off the end, and I'm just going to fuse this to itself. So once this melts down just a little bit, come back through with the lighter and just press it into itself here on the paracord. Now that's somewhat secure on that. So now, as you can see, if I had this in a belt, I would just pull this out, and now it just continues to pay out without tangling on itself all the way until the end here. So that's essentially how to tie the actual Hayanawa or Japanese fast rope itself. So once you have the bundle, some things that you can do here. So as I was mentioning earlier, once you've got this put together, you can now take your fingers and you can reach through, you can pull through a loop like this. You can do the old trick that Sean Connery did to the guy in the movie The Rock. So he had this kind of on his hand, threw it over his wrist like that, and held him off the side of a building by nothing more than a string on his hand. That's Hollywood crap, obviously, but at any rate, that's kind of how that was done. So once you have that initial bind across a hand, you can now come through too and tie something like a handcuff knot, and I'll go over that too, just so you kind of get a visual for that. So you wrap across your hand like this. I'm actually going to try to turn a little bit so you can see this. So basically, you would take the line, you'd wrap it across your hand, and this is important, so I'll go through this a couple times. You're going to grab and flip like that. So again, grab with my thumb down, flip over like this, and I'm going to take the other line, and I'm going to come up with my thumb right here. So I'm going to reach through with my middle finger and pull this line here. So let me try that again. Down, loop, come through with my thumb, reach with my middle finger, and then also here, on right where my thumb comes over, I'm going to reach with my middle finger there too, and I'm going to pull through with my fingers. So what you're creating there is now a handcuff knot, and if this was on me here, I would tighten this up and basically be in cuffs there. So I'm going to show that again because I myself have tied this many times and it can get a little tricky. So again, reach over like this, thumb across, so this line is coming over my thumb. I'm reaching through with my middle finger here and grabbing this line that is on the inside of my palm there. And this middle finger is grabbing, once this grabs first, now I'm grabbing this line that's on top of my thumb and pulling it through. Flip this over so you can see. Just like this. It's creating a loop. So it takes a lot of practice to do it quick, but once you get it down, you can do it pretty quick. So, and then that would be the start of something too, like a restraint. So you'd start with the hands with this, and kind of the way this is done, if you look at the traditional Japanese Hayanawa or Hojo Jutsu, it's wrapped around the upper arms, it's wrapped over the neck and back through another arm and tied back to the location near the hand. So, and then what that allows the constable or the person that's tied someone up with this is to basically just lead them with a rope wherever they need to go, if it's a transport situation or something like that. So obviously this needs to be done quickly. I think traditionally they had to do this, you know, obviously you'd have a prisoner that was actively trying to get away, so it would be kind of a quick deal to get this around their hand, that initial loop, and then continue tying stuff up on them. But this is only kind of the first step of Hojo Jutsu, because once you get your Hayanawa or Toranawa, which is known as the fast rope or the capture rope, on, you move on to what's called a Hanawa, which is a secondary natural fiber rope that would then be tied around them to restrain them additionally, and then this would be removed. So anyhow, that's kind of how to tie a Hojo cord or a Hayanawa. Hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you check out the article on itstactical.com for more information on how to tie this with some detailed photos as well. And be sure to leave any questions if you got them. Thanks for watching.